Hello everyone, my name is Cory Smith, and the goal of my videos is simple. It is to help you understand music. So in today's video, like you probably saw in the thumbnail and the title of the video, today we're going to be talking about Stevie Wonder and his song Do I Do. We're going to look at the intro and verse, which are basically the same chord progressions. We're going to look at the chorus, and we're going to look at the bridge that's later on in the song. So we're going to be breaking down those three sections, and we'll talk really deep music theory in a second with each of those sections, but really kind of throughout the song we're going to be highlighting the idea of borrowed chords and also polychords, which we're going to get into. So borrowed chords and polychords. So with that, let me just switch my camera shot here, and I'm just going to play along with the intro and verse, and then we'll talk about it. So let me go over to Ableton. Here we go. 1 major 7, 4th dominant 13, 5/7 sus. Verse. Alright, cool. So we're going to stop there. That verse, or that intro and that verse, it's pretty much the same thing throughout, but it's a beautiful chord progression. It's just a B major 7, like E7 or E13, E13 9, however you want to say it and voice it, and then it goes to that F sharp 9 sus, and it's just those three chords primarily throughout the whole first little portion of the song. Now, one thing right off the bat that I love that Stevie Wonder does in this intro and in this verse, whenever he goes to the 4 chord, which in this case the bass note is E, right? That's the 4 because we're in the key of B. So we're in the key of B. That means the 1 is B, the 4 is E, and the 5 is F sharp. Okay. Now he starts out on the 1 major 7, B major 7. Whenever he goes to the 4 chord, it's not your regular 4 chords, and it's not a major 7 either. He's doing a dominant chord. He's doing like that, this sound right there on his 4, which is really cool because normally, in regular type of rock music, pop music, you wouldn't hear a dominant sound over the 4, but he's really borrowing this note from the B blues scale. So instead of just like the regular B pentatonic, which has these 5 notes, it's like that B blues scale, the B major blues scale, which adds the D natural. So those notes, right? So then when he hits that D natural on that 4 chord, it has that very bluesy feel, right? Because normally 4 chords don't have a D natural, but this song it does. So then after that, he goes to a 5 sus, and now the way that I love to think about 5 chords a lot of the time when they have that 9 sus sound is simply to play an E triad, or the 4 triad, in this case E, over the F sharp bass note, which is the 5. So it's a 4 triad over the 5, and all together with those 4 notes, F sharp and then the E triad, that's your whole 5/9 sus, because you got, right, the 7 is the E, the 9 is the G sharp, and the sus is the B. So even though you could call this chord F9 sus, you could just as well call it E over F sharp, which is an easy way to think about playing sus chords. So all together so far we just have this. And then it does that a few times throughout the verse. Now, picking it up in the chorus, he goes that do I do, right? For the longest time, I always thought that this chord progression was 3 3 2, do I do, and then he played that line. But I was listening to it in preparation to make this video, and I realized that it's not 3 3 2. It's actually 6 6 2. My voice. It's 6 6 2. right? The 6, it's using that same formula where it's a triad over the bass note, because it's not the 6 minor, it's the 6-9 sus, which basically turns out to be an F sharp triad over a G sharp, and then it goes to the 2 minor, and it's really like a 2 minor 9. Here, let's listen to that really quick. Here's like a 2 bars before the chorus. Here it is. What he's basically doing is playing the 5 of the 2 into the 2, right? 5 of 2, or technically 5-9 sus of 2 to 2, right? And then he plays that line. And let me play along for that part. Here it goes. So that chorus is dope. He has that awesome line, the right. It's a beautiful line, just basically going over that B major pentatonic scale, and he ends on that chord. So it's basically 3 2 1 6 2 1 6 5 1 6 5 2 sharp 2, and then those 3 chords are a D sharp 9 sus, G sharp 9 sus, to a 2 minor 7, or a C sharp minor 7. Now on the little middle part of the screen where the chords pop up, I'm guessing it's not giving the chord symbol the exact way that I'm saying it, but those first 2 chords, they're using that same formula that we were using earlier, where it's basically triad over bass note, triad over bass note, and then just minor 7 chord. So Stevie Wonder, he really likes using those polychords. Here, so let's play the chorus all again really quick. It's such a cool progression. Here, let me go here. I kind of botched that a little bit, but that's okay. So the end of that, it goes, my love, my love. Now, check this out. If you just think of the bass note and the melody, which is, that's the bass, and the melody is, love to you, my love. If you didn't really listen closely to the inner voices, you might just think it's maybe a 5, my love. But it doesn't take a very advanced musician to hear that, no, there's more going on in those inner voices than simply 5 dominant, my love. Right? He's basically taking that melody note, love, and he's building a triad, a major triad underneath it. So instead of just the F sharp to E, it's a D major triad with the F sharp on top to a C major triad with the E on top, all while keeping that F sharp in the bass. So, love, my love to you. And then it's back to that intro progression on the B major 7. Now what Stevie Wonder does in this part of the song, it's non-diatonic, which means those 2 triads, D and C, those are not in the key, right? Because, reminder, for those of you who don't have all of the notes of a key just memorized, the triads that are in the key of B are B major, C sharp minor, D sharp minor, E, F sharp, G sharp minor, and then A sharp diminished, right? None of those are D or C. Those are just simply major triads that are a minor third above the 1, a half step above the 1, and then the 1, all placed over the 5. Now, let's take this one step deeper, because it sounds really cool, and I'm not sure how deeply they were thinking about, the function and what notes, or what each note's purpose is within these chords when they were in the studio. Like, they might have been feeling it, they might have been analyzing it, it might have been a mix of the two. But for the sake of this video, let's break it down, because the reason I think that this sounds so cool is not simply because it's a random triad, but the notes that are within the D triad, they're basically color notes of an F sharp dominant sound without actually having the third and the seventh of the F sharp. So let me explain. If you have an F sharp 7, right? So here's F sharp, and then it's 7 and it's 3. There's your basic F sharp 7 chord, or your 5 7. If we take those three notes and then add the D triad on top, that's a cool sound. There's F sharp 7 and our D triad, right? The F sharp in the middle is simply doubling the bass note, but the A, that's the sharp 9, and the D, that's the flat 13. So what we're really doing when we play D over F sharp, it's like we're playing F sharp 7, sharp 9, flat 13 without playing the third and the seventh. Right, so let me say that again because it's kind of complicated. Playing the polychord, and sorry, I didn't say this, but we're talking about the polychord now, right? Because a polychord is simply a chord that's a triad, a simple chord that's easy to understand, maybe a seventh chord, but usually a triad over a different bass note. So in this case, D over F sharp, and then C over F sharp. Those are the two polychords. So again, D over F sharp is basically a really simple way to understand a pretty complicated chord, because it's really functioning in this case not as simple D over F sharp, but it's functioning as like F sharp 7, sharp 9, flat 13 without the third and seventh. Now similarly, when we go to C over F sharp, the C becomes the flat 5 of F sharp. This E is the dominant 7. And this G right here, that becomes the flat 9. So now playing the polychord C over F sharp is a simple way to understand the chord F sharp 7, flat 5, flat 9 without playing the third and seventh. This is what that chord sounds like as is in the recording. And then if you were to add third and seventh, it would sound like this. With that note, the B flat or the A sharp. But I don't hear that in the recording. It just sounds like the polychord with the D to the C, with the F sharp in the bass. So that's the usage of polychords at the end of the chorus. So now let's go a little bit more forward in the song. We've done the verse and the chorus. It does another verse and a chorus, and then eventually it gets to this little section before the bridge. It goes like this. Same as the intro, except it adds the F13 before the E13. And then it adds the C. Is it C major or C dominant? Let's see, I can't remember. I think it's C major. Do you hear that top note in the violin? That's what I'm listening for. C major 9, B major 9. Right, that's what I'm listening for. So the little pre-bridge section is the same as the intro and the verse, except it adds those two chords, F13 before the E13, and then C major 9 before the B major 9. Here, let's play that really quick. Here's the F13, E13, and then F sharp 9 sus, C major 7, and then B major 7. Same thing on this bridge. Right, pretty simple. Now this part is great. Let's listen. Okay, cool. So this, I don't know what they called it again in the studio or when they were writing it, but for the sake of this, I'm just kind of calling it bridge 2, because that first bridge is yes, I got some honey kisses for your lips. But then when we get to this bridge 2 section, here you can even see right here, I use these little markers to remind me, what did he play again? Because this is one of those things, there's a lot of musicians that do this, but I would say that Stevie Wonder, he's probably one of my favorite musicians that think this way. But what he does, he's basically taking the same chord progression and then moving it every time, every iteration, like up by a step. So here, let me switch to the shot again so you can see what I see. So when we get here to the bridge 2, he plays A flat 9 sus, A flat 9, D flat major 7, or D flat 9, however you voice it. And again, we're using that same polychord pattern where it's G flat over A flat, and then just resolving it to the regular dominant, and then D flat major 7, and then A flat over B flat, B flat 9, E flat major 7, B flat over C, C9, F major 7, and then when he gets to this part, it's kind of just like hanging on the original 5, which is the F sharp, and it's like, and then that bass has the little, instead of me singing it, how about we just listen to it really quick? And I'm going to play along for fun this time. So this is going to be right before that second bridge. Now walks up a whole step. Up again. Now we're going to hang on the 5. Little bass part. And then back to the verse. No, we already did this. So those are the 3 main sections, 3.5-ish main sections of Stevie Wonder's Do I Do. I didn't say this in the beginning of the video, but I'm going to put timestamps throughout this video so you can kind of jump from the breakdown of each of the respective sections. And before we wrap it up, you can check out my website if you want to do music lessons. I do online lessons because God knows in this crazy time, it's so awesome to have resources online if you still want to learn music. If you do, you can click on that link in the description to get in touch with me one-on-one, and we can talk about music lessons, and you can even get a free consultation with me. Otherwise, have a great day and keep playing music, and go listen to some good music.